Have you ever bought a beautiful gratitude journal, had a few really good days with it, and then suddenly you're staring at the page thinking, I have no idea what to write? Some days the ideas flows and other days your brain feels completely empty and it starts to feel like this whole thing just doesn't work for you. If that sounds familiar, this video is for you. Today I will walk you through a very simple method called FFB Method. It's fact, feeling, and because. And a very gentle 3-stage 84 days journey that can make gratitude prompts feel much guided, realistic, and actually helpful in a day-to-day life. So first, why gratitude often felt awkward or empty? A lot of advice sounds like this. Every night, write 3 things you are grateful for. In theory, that sounds straightforward. In practice, it often goes like this. On a good day, you sit down and things just come easily. You remember small, nice moments. You write quickly and it feels okay. But on a tired or stressful day, you open the journal and nothing comes. You're scanning your days and your mind just feels blank. It's easy at that point to think, maybe I'm not a grateful person, or maybe this system just doesn't work for me. The real issue is that at a very open, empty page is asking your brain to do a lot. It has to decide what to pick, how to phrase it, and how to make it meaningful, all at the same time, usually when you're low on energy. It's a bit like meditation. If you are new and someone says, just sit here for 20 minutes and focuses on your breath, that's hard. But when you have an audio guide telling you, now notice this, now bring your attentions back, it suddenly becomes much easier to stay with it. Gratitude works in a similar way. A guided system with thoughtful prompts and a clear path takes away most of your decision fatigue. You're no longer inventing the practice from scratch every day. You'll be following the structures that's already been built for you. So let me share how I ran into this problem myself. As a stationery lover, I was so excited to start a gratitude journal. I tried a lot of different notebooks, but every single one basically asked the same generic questions. Today's highs and lows, today's small wins. About 5 days, I was repeating myself and not feeling any real shift. It didn't feel like it was guiding me to be more mindful. It felt more like a box I was trying to tick. So I started reading more about how the brain actually rewires habits and emotions. That led me to build the FFB method and the 3-stage 84 days journey. The difference was immediate. With the clear structures, the practice felt deeper, more interesting, and much easier to keep up with. So what is this FFB method? You can think of it as a little framework for one moment in your day. It has 3 parts. First, there is the fact. This is what actually happens in the real world. For example, today I noticed the late afternoon light across my desk. Next is the feeling. This is how that moment landed in your body or your emotions. For that same moment, it made me feel calm and less rushed. And then it comes to because. This is where we explain why that matters to you, even in a very small way. For example, because it reminded me I'm allowed to pause even when my to-do list is long. So in the end, you've written 3 short lines. Fact, feeling, and because. They're tiny bit of structures, not your brain to do 3 things. Notice a clear scene, connect it with the emotions, and label the meaning behind it. That's the kind of entry your mind remembers much more easily. So, FFB is a powerful little technique on its own. But remember that guided meditation examples I talked about earlier? If FFB is how you answer, then the next question is, how does that guided audio versions of the gratitude sound like or look like? In another word, how do we design a prompt that's easy to plug these FFB methods into them day after day without you having to invent everything yourself? That's where this 3-stage and 84 days journey comes in. One reason I designed it in this way is the time frame. It's much easier to say to yourself that I'm going to try this for 28 days than saying that I'm going to journal forever. So instead of a very big blocks of 84 days, you get 3 little 28 days cycles. 84 days is long enough for your brain to start treating this as something I do. But because it's broken into 3 smaller cycles and each part feels much more manageable, you always know right now I'm just focusing on this stage. Another reason behind this design is progress. When you know that you are in stage 1, and then you move into stage 2, and then stage 3, you feel like you're moving forward. There's a sense of, I'm in a different phase now, even if you're only writing 3 short lines a day. And then there's a job that each stage does for your mind. Stage 1 is designed to make the habit feel very light and safe. Stage 2 is designed to work more closely with your inner stories. Stage 3 is designed to let gratitude show up in how you see yourself and how you show up in your relationships. Underneath all of that, the structures is borrowed from ideas we know from habits and emotion research, but in a very quiet way. When you sit down around the same time, open the same journal, and do the same small routine that only takes a few minutes, your brain starts to recognize this pattern. It's like, okay, this is that little things we do now. And it takes much less effort to start. Because your prompt asks you to pick specific moments, your entry becomes a little mental snapshot instead of blurry generic statement. On top of that, many of the prompts involve other people who helped you, encourage you, or stay with you during the tough times. As you write those down, you start to see the web of support around you more and more clearly. And that naturally makes you want to take care of those relationships in return. Let's talk about what each stage is trying to do for you before we dive into the exact prompts. So for the stage 1, which covers from days 1 to day 28, is all about habit formations and safety. Here, the main goal is simple. I can actually do this. The prompts in stage 1 are very concrete and very gentle. They focus on things like the colors you notice, simple comforts, the way your bodies carry you throughout the days. You're not being asked to unpack your childhood or describe big life lessons yet. That matters, because when you are new to a habit, the most important thing is that your brain doesn't feel threatened or overwhelmed. In stage 1, you're building a pattern. So you just need to open a page, notice something very small, write 3 short lines, feel a tiny shift, and then go on with your day. It's like giving yourself a guided meditation for gratitude. The prompt is the guide. You just follow along. And now it comes to stage 2. That will be from date 29 to 56. It's about cognitive deepening and the story shaping. By this point, sitting down with your journal doesn't feel so strange anymore. So stage 2, we will ask a little bit more of your thinking. Here, the goal is to look at how you tell the stories of your life to yourself. The prompts invite you to notice your strengths, the lessons you have picked up from mistakes, and the patterns in the way that you handle difficult moments. You're not doing a very heavy therapy works, but you are slowly updating the way you frame things. As you use the FFB with these prompts, the because lines often becomes the place to where you capture growth and resilience in your own words. And finally, we move to stage 3. That will be from days 57 to 84. It's all about characters and connections. By this stage, the mechanics of the practice are very familiar for you. So the focus will shift outward. These prompts will look at what kind of persons you want to be and the way you relate to others. They bring rituals, role models, and the ways you showed gratitude in your daily life, not only in your notebook. So, across this 3 stages, you move from easing yourself into the habit to reshaping your inner stories to letting gratitude show up in who you are and how you move through your relationships. Now you know the intention behind each stage. Let me show you how that looks in the actual prompts. In stage 1, where our focus is in habits and safety, you might see prompts like, be grateful for one simple thing your body did for you today, or be grateful for a quiet moment you had to yourself today. Those are very easy to answer with the FFB method. You can describe a short walk you took, or the moment you sat with a cup of coffee. It's quick and it's concrete. In stage 2, where we are working with your inner stories, prompts go a little deeper. For example, there might be a day that says, list 3 personal qualities that you are proud of. Choose one and describe a specific time that it showed. Or another one that asks you, think about a mistake you once made. What valuable lessons did you learn from it? Here, you are still using FFB, But now the because line often holds something like, because it showed me I can ask for help, or because it proved that I can recover from things that I thought would break me. In stage 3, where the focus is on the characters and connections, the prompts stretch into how you show up in the world. You might see something like, describe a single trigger that can instantly put you in a state of gratitude. Or, be grateful for the role models who show you what gratitude looks like. How will you carry their spirit? By this point, gratitude isn't only about what comes to you, it's also about how you want to respond and what kind of presence you want to be for other people. So, how do you start your own practice? One cycle at a time. Rather than telling yourself, I'm going to do all 84 days perfectly, I would suggest starting with just the first 28-day cycle and treating it as an experiment. During those first 28 days, lean on the stage 1 prompts and use the FFB method every time. Each day you answer with 1 line for the fact, 1 line for the feelings, and 1 line for the because. On a really busy or heavy day, a few words per line is completely fine. Keep the time window very small. Aim for around 3 minutes. When you know it's going to take a couple minutes, it's much easier to sit down and do it, even when you're tired. If you run into a prompt that doesn't quite match your day, feel free to adjust it instead of giving up the whole thing. For example, if your prompt says, be grateful for the walk you took today, and you didn't go outside at all, you could nudge it into, be grateful for one moment your body supported you today. That flexibility is part of what makes the practice sustainable. At the end of stage 1, give yourself 10 or 15 minutes to flick back through your entries. Notice if certain words or people keep showing up. Notice how your tone sounds on the page. And then, from that place, you can ask yourself, do I want to continue to stage 2 and give myself another 28 days? If that feels good, you recommit for the next cycle. You're still walking the full 84 days path. But in your mind, you're always just committing to the next small stretch. If you like this whole path laid out for you, with the 84 unique prompts, weekly review, and short science notice behind the methods, I created a digital 84 days gratitude prompts journey. You can print it at home or use it on a tablet, and the 3 stages are laid out in order, and each page already has space for your FFB entrance, so you can just open it and follow along without designing anything yourself. I will leave the link in the description if you'd like to explore it. Okay, let's quickly recap what we have covered. We talk about why it is so common to feel stuck with open-ended gratitude prompts, especially on the stressful days. You learn the FFB method, the fact, feeling, because as a simple way to turn one tiny moment into a much more meaningful entry. We walk through the 3-stage, 84 days journey and how it gives you a clearer time frame, a sense of progress, and a different focus at each stage. If you want a full written guide with a more detailed example and more FAQs, the blog post is linked in the description. It goes step by step through the methods and the stages. Before you go, here's a small experiment you can try tonight. Think back over your date and pick one very small moment. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Maybe it was a snack break, a short message from someone, or a quiet minute you could take a break. Write that moment using the FFB. First, write down the fact, what actually happened. Then, write down the feeling, how it landed in you. Finally, write the because, why it mattered, even just a little. If you tried it, you're welcome to come back and share your entries and share what you noticed in the comments. Sometimes one specific entry is enough to feel that little shift. If you like more calm, science-informed tours like this, you can subscribe and join me as I keep building out these little libraries of practice. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.